Bienvenidos Deuces Wild Motherfuckers. A
And
very pleasant good evening to you, Thrill.
happy good evening. We're in kind of different locales here. I am in snowy Louisiana, and you are in a makeshift trip to Mexico. So tell us what's going on there.
Well, hang with us because this is how dedicated we are to the show. I was going to cancel the show. We have no internet where we actually are. I'm at a pickleball club where there's this big pickleball tournament tomorrow. It's a last minute. I got invited to play. I said, screw it. Hopped on a flight from Reno this morning. So I'm down in Los Barrios, Mexico, and playing in this pickleball tournament starting tomorrow. But the irony is crazy because here you are in Louisiana with the snow, and here I am, and it's 70 degrees outside.
Right, exactly. I was gonna like compare notes with you. I was gonna say, "Hey, how is it in Truckee? How you got it?" Because we got like I don't know, we got like 3 or 4 inches here. It actually stuck on the ground. So Louisiana's not built for this. They shut everything down. Told everybody to stay off the roads, and some of these idiots on the road, and they wound up into ditches and all that sort of shit. So it's been kind of a mess. But yeah, just stayed inside today. Did a bunch of little nitpicky errands around the house, and watched it come down. And my dog was having a ball. Man, Doc was out there. He had his face buried in the snow. He'd come up and he'd have nothing but snow all over his face, and he's like, how about that, Dad? How about that? So it was cool.
Dude, that was one of the greatest videos that I've seen in a long time because it literally was a dog, right? Like your dog seeing snow for the first time.
First time, and he's like, I mean, he was just like as fast as he could, one in the rim across the backyard, and then he'd stop and he'd lock up, and then all of a sudden it'd just be a big snow pile coming out of there. And man, it was hysterical. I was laughing my ass off.
Isn't that great? Just the joy and wonders of life. It's something that I think we take for granted so often.
Yeah.
But my dogs still do the same thing when there's that fresh powder on the ground and they go outside and I let them out the front door and it's just, they're doing 360s just like Doc was, man. It was so good.
Oh man, it was really really fun to watch today, and then you could tell he didn't know how to stop. So then you'd get on the deck of the pool, and it was still a little slick, and he'd try to stop, and he just keep sliding, he'd crash into one of the chairs on the deck or anything, But he was having him a ball. He went outside probably 20 times a day.
Well, you know who else is having a ball? All the gamblers out there. This is the perfect time of season for Bet Online, the number one online gambling destination. Go to Bet Online for all the latest news, scores, odds, predictions, everything you need. NFL, AFC Championship game, NFL, NFC Championship game. You had the National Championship game last night with Notre Dame and Ohio State. You have baseball prop bets coming up. Whatever you need is there for you. Want to play the slots? They got poker rooms. They got everything over it. Bet online. Type in the promo code BLEAV, capital BLEAV for 50% off your first deposit at Bet Online. The game starts here.
There you go. And so, what did you think after betting online? What did you think about the national championship game?
I just, it's tough to get behind Ohio State, man. For me, I'm, I grew up a Notre Dame fan. Obviously, I was rooting for Notre Dame. I like Ryan Day. He fires me up. It's just the Ohio State thing is they have a SEC arrogance about them, man. Like you guys all think that there's, the world starts and ends at Ohio State in the SEC. It's a superiority complex is what I like to call it, but. It was good football. They had the best team. Good for Notre Dame for just even staying in. I thought they were gonna get fucking blown out by 50.
Yeah. No.
So
Yeah. Actually, I was kind of pulling for Notre Dame, and the reason being, um, they're a Jesuit school. I went to a Jesuit high school. That was the only reason I pulled for them. But
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, right? I went to a Catholic high school. But I grew up actually. The reason why I like Notre Dame, like, number one, they played on NBC every Saturday since I was a kid, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you got to watch them play. It was kind of like why people said they used to love the Braves, where it was the Braves or the Cubs because they were the ones that were out there that were actually playing. But looking at it, I grew up in that age. It was Tony Rice and it was Rocket Ishmael and it was Jerome Bettis and it was just really fun group to watch and root for. And but Notre Dame's also very polarizing. So there's a lot of people that don't love Notre Dame. But regardless, at least Notre Dame made it a game, got within 8 late, and that was it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But
All
anyway,
right, all right, Joel. So here's the deal, bud. I'm gonna get right into it, and we have a breaking news
breaking news on No Filter Network.
live from Mexico. This news comes to you. 3 new members elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Ichiro, CC Sabathia, and after a long time coming, Billy Wagner. Your thoughts?
My thoughts were Billy Wagner definitely deserves it. I mean, he's been knocking on the door. He's been close the whole time. And, finally they gave him enough votes to get him in. Ichiro, for me personally, was a no-brainer. And believe it or not, CC Sabathia was a no-brainer for me. I thought maybe there might be another one or two. I thought maybe they might do Andrew Jones, but showed up a little short again. And yeah, I mean, great class for induction.
So Ichiro falls 1 vote shy of being a unanimous Hall of Famer, the same way Derek Jeter fell 1 vote shy. My humble opinion is that it's fucking bullshit, and anybody who did not vote for them should have their voting rights revoked.
Totally
What
agree.
do you think about that?
Totally agree with you. I mean, if you didn't vote for Derek Jeter or you didn't vote for Ichiro Suzuki, you don't know baseball, and you shouldn't be covering the sport, and you should get the hell out of the media coverage because if you're that blind, you're a freaking idiot.
It's incredible thrill. Like, why is it that they have those votes? Why can't we get a better process in coming up with who was actually a Hall of Famer and who wasn't?
You know what? For me personally, um, there's I want to say maybe 400 and something writers that you know um, I guess you want to say can vote, and a lot of them, I mean, they're retired from the sport. They're no longer sports writers and all that, but they're still able to vote. So I think that's bullshit. They ought to whittle it back down. And on top of that, you and I talked about it. They ought to include some of the players in there, and have some of the players have a say so in it.
Okay, so here were the final results. Ichiro Suzuki, 99.7%. CC Sabathia, 86.8%. Billy Wagner, 82.5%. So those were the 3 Hall of Famers. But then after that, the guys that got left out: Carlos Beltran, 70.3%. Andrew Jones, 66%. Chase Utley, he is slowly upping
Yeah.
his total here. This is 39.8%. Dude, I think Chase Utley's a Hall of Famer. You go back and look at it, you compare him to some of the greatest second basemen of all time, he should be a Hall of Famer. And then here are the guys, I mean, the controversial runs, right? Alex Rodriguez, 37%. Manny Ramirez, 34%. I mean, if you go by numbers, both those motherfuckers are Hall of Famers.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you go straight by numbers, but they're like I said, the people that are voting are the ones that never played the game before, so they don't know how hard it is to be a Manny Ramirez or Alex Rodriguez. They don't know how hard it is to hit a baseball and have 500, 600 homers and driving thousands of runs. They don't know how to do it. So they're holding it against them because of the PED stuff.
Well, here's the deal: you can't put those guys in if you're going to keep Bonds out.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I
And
just think
and
that
you
whole
can't
thing's fucking broken, though.
and you can't put some of the guys in that you've put in the last few years who had rumors floating around about them, and put in Big Poppy, who is an admitted user. So, I mean, come on, you got to set a standard. If you're gonna keep those guys out, but then you're gonna let Poppy in because he sucked ass with the media, that ain't right.
So after Manny Ramirez, you have Andy Pettit, who is sort of in that category too. There was some, I know, substances that were mailed. I don't remember the exact thing that
Yeah.
happened with him, but I know there was an issue there. Felix Hernandez. This is an interesting one. 81 votes. You got 20% of the vote. If you were to ask me if he was a Hall of Famer, I would say yes, just based on facing him, playing against him
Right.
during that
Right.
era. He was the
Right.
best of the era. I mean, he was right up there in the top five for sure.
Who how many years did he get in? Do you remember?
No, I mean I could look at it, but basically King Felix, I mean, he was a savage, dude. Like he was the best of the best,
Right.
right? For a long time. So I mean, this is where it becomes really interesting because here you were, like, in my humble opinion, dude, you were at the top for an 8-year period, and yet because you didn't stick around until you were 45 years old, fucking trying to collect every last hit and every last homer, your
Yeah.
bulk numbers aren't going to get you into the Hall of Fame, or at least they're not going to get you elected through that. Now, I then will make the argument for you, and not even that you need it, but look, your numbers were right there with Harold Baines, and then
Yeah.
Harold Baines was elected by the Veterans Committee,
Yeah.
and
And my
so
numbers are very similar to Edgar Martinez too. So, and Edgar was a DH, and I played every day. So same thing. But yeah, no. Felix Hernandez had 15 years in, and he was 169 and 136 with a 3.4 ERA.
which is incredible. But I think, are we looking at wins and losses? Are we not looking at wins and losses? How much weight do you put into it? The 3.42 ERA is obviously legit. He led the ERA in 2010 with a 2.27, so led the American League with a 2.14 in 2014. Was a Cy Young Award winner in 2010, second in the Cy Young in 2009, fourth in 2012, and then second again in 2014, seventh in 2015. Certainly one of the best pitchers of our generation. I mean, that's another guy that, I mean,
Yeah.
if you did it for a 10-year period, an 8 to 10 year period,
Yeah.
I just think that should be enough. I
Yeah.
really
No.
do.
And and you know what? You and I kind of talked about it. Um, but I think his last year it was a little different, but I think Carlos Beltran kind of overtook Andrew Jones. Wasn't he below Andrew Jones last year? And he's kind of
I
leapfrogged him a little bit, right? And so
I
he's
thought
in the
I
same
thought he
position.
was.
Carlos Beltran's in the same position as what Billy Wagner was last year. Billy had 72%, and now he got 82%. Carlos has 70% now, so he just needs 5 more percent, and he becomes a Hall of Famer next year.
Yeah, it obviously indicates that Carlos Beltran, he's one of the better switch hitters of all time.
Yeah,
If you really dive into the numbers. Now, eh, he then was, many would say the ringleader of the Astros cheating scandal. And so you wonder how much that is going to hurt him. Obviously, it doesn't really look like it. I don't think people look at, the gamesmanship. You could say gamesmanship if you're using, basically, if you're using performance enhancing drugs as opposed to sign stealing, it's a little bit of a different
yeah,
animal.
yeah. But
Omar Vizquel, Thrill, 70 votes. So it doesn't look like this is going to have 17.8%. I mean, he's been on the ballot for a really long time. Jimmy Rollins is another one.
yeah,
Uh, Bobby Abreu. I mean, all these guys are sitting in that 17 to 20% range.
Yeah, yeah, and those guys haven't made a move in the last few years, so probably they're going to be stuck there. But just looking at Beltran right here, he played 20 years, and he wound up having 435 homers, 1,587 RBIs, and he hit 279. So I mean, 1,587 RBIs. That's a legit number right there. Plus over 400 homers. He's a he's a definite guy that probably should be in there next year.
So, Thrill, when you got your number retired, I remembered being on the field and watching you, and you basically said, "This is my Hall of Fame."
Yeah, yeah.
What
Because
did you
the
mean?
reason
What did you
the
mean by
reason I
that?
said that it's twofold. Because first off, I legitimately meant it, in front of the San Francisco fans and organization and all that. But then second off, I also know, there's a very, very outside chance that I'm gonna make it through the Veterans Committee because I've already been through, I don't know, 4 or 5 votes with the Veterans Committee, and I wasn't anywhere near the I don't know 16 votes that you're supposed to get. I think the highest I ever got was 10. So I know that there's kind of an outside chance on that. And you got guys that had very similar years to me, like Don Mattingly. He's not in. Don and I have pretty much the same stats all the way through. And so, unless, a class of guy like that gets in, pretty outside chance that I'm gonna get in.
What would it mean to you if you were elected?
Oh my God. Um, I didn't get into sport to be a Hall of Famer. You and I have already talked about that. Certain guys did. That's all they want to do is be a Hall of Famer. I got in it for the challenge and trying to beat the numbers and trying to win all the time. Be the man up there, when the lights are on. But if I could make it to the Major League Hall of Fame, you know, I had a pretty good speech for my jersey retirement. The next speech is going to be even better.
I don't know if you could top that, dude.
Oh, hey, we're gonna bring it. I can tell you that.
I, I'm looking at it, and I don't know who the Veterans Committee is. I don't really give a shit. It's just to think that those guys who watched you play, who understood what you meant to the game
Yeah.
during the mid to late 1980s and then the early 90s, they got to be out of their fucking minds to keep you out of the Hall of Fame.
Like I said, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know a few years that I've been, on the ballot. Ozzy's been there on the committee, so I know I ain't getting that vote. And but then it changes from time to time. I know Joe Carter was on there a few years, and there's been some executives that have been on there. But hey, look, it is what it is, and you and Josh in the chat room, y'all led the charge, to get the jersey retired, and that's all that mattered to me. So I'm all good with that. Speaking of jerseys, how are you liking my retro USA jersey?
That's sick. Where's that from?
Okay, so now check this one out. This came from Tommy Luke, all right, and it is retro. It's vintage. It is not to date. So check this one out. Ready?
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah.
It's 45, not 47. That's why it's retro.
That's why it's retro. It's 45. Tommy Luke gave it to me at the ranch when we were hunting last weekend. I said, dude, I'm I'm putting that on. We're going on with it.
Oh, it's fantastic, dude.
So
Yeah, I
anyway,
mean, what
that,
what a day, what a day for America. Did you uh, watch the inauguration, and it's a changing of the guard, always special?
dude, how about the fact that all right, I get sworn in. Okay, I'm gonna have a little party and all that. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna bring a table and I'm gonna freaking do all the executive orders in front of you guys. It's
Yeah,
like unbelievable. That was I,
it's
I thought that was amazing, and I mean he hit the ground running. He ain't checked up yet, so everybody be stepping and fetching because the big boy's in office and he's rocking.
Well, it's called getting shit done.
Yeah, you got that right.
All right. So about the jersey retirement, this was something really interesting. So uh, Justin Verlander signed with the Giants,
Yeah,
and so Verlander has always worn number 35,
right.
and so there was some debate whether or not he should be allowed to wear number 35 because Brandon Crawford, longtime Giant, one of the best Giant shortstops to ever play, uh, maybe one day the jersey would get retired. I don't know that, but there was some debate about it. And actually, even Mike Fruco said, I don't really want to see anyone else like wear 35. And so that's what sparked the debate. I then went on a Daily Hustle thrill. And by the way, I apologize for sending you the Daily Hustle link. I was in a rush to get you the link and not the Deuces Wild when I'm going to
That's
change
all right.
that
That's
later.
all right.
But
I'm just glad. I'm
so,
glad everybody in the chat room made it.
yeah, we're getting some of our core. But I basically, dude, what happened is I went over the 20 guys that wore number 22 before they retired your number. And I'm like, even if Brandon Crawford does have his number retired one day, great. But why would you not? No, no, not after I watched 20 fucking dudes wear
Yeah,
Thrills number 22 that we're
yeah,
going to have to sit here and hold off giving somebody 35, especially another Hall of Famer, for sure Hall of Famer, slam
yeah,
dunk Hall of Famer. If he
yeah.
wants to wear 35, in my opinion, let him fucking wear 35 without stressing about it.
I agree with you. And, I mean, you even said it, there's a bunch of dudes that wore, 20, 22 before they retired it. But like a guy like Jake Peavy, he called me up out of the clear blue and he's like, "Hey bro, would you mind if I borrowed number 22? I'll give you a little something, I'll take you on a hunt or whatever." And I was like, "Dude, you're a gamer. That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead and wear it." So, but then to give it to some of the other people that they gave it to, I was like, no, 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 no. And then, so to go with what you're talking about with Verlander, you know, he even said it. He even said it on one of the little articles that's online. He said that he was going to have a talk with Crawford about it. But if I was Crawford, I'd be like, dude, you're a freaking Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. Go ahead and wear it. I mean, if something happens with Crawford, it's going to be 4 or 5 years down the line. That's first off. All right. And then second off, Verlander signed a 1 year deal. Who knows if he's going to be with us next year? And so, it'd just be a little gentleman's agreement. Hey, take me out and play golf or something like that. So, hey, whatever it might be. But yeah, no, I mean, if I know Brandon Crawford, he's going to say, yeah, go ahead and wear a jersey.
Yeah, I like the Giants and the fact that there will be more cognizant of just handing out a great number. And I also love the fact that if someone like a Verlander is going to go, wear number 35, right? Like, yeah, okay, cool. And have some communication. But at the same time, like, dude, the number's not fucking retired. It's just not.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know if it ever will be, dude. Like, all due respect to Brandon Crawford, like his stats aren't even near what yours were. Like, not even near, bro. And you and Bonds are the only two to ever have your number retired who aren't in Cooperstown.
That's
And
correct.
so,
That's correct.
what makes you think? Look, Brandon Crawford, Wall of Fame. Brandon Crawford, could go into the Giants Hall of Fame. And on and on and on. The number retired thing, I do think that's special. I think that should be
Yeah.
reserved for Cooperstown guys and guys that should be in Cooperstown
Yeah.
type of thing.
I
And
mean, so Crawford is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, he's going to be on the Wall of Fame. So
yeah,
you don't even have to worry about that. That's definitely happened. Whether he gets his jersey retired or not, that's going to be a little bit more down the line because you got people like Mr. Buster Posey, who is going to be voted on in the Hall of Fame here pretty soon because he retired when? Let me see. Let me see his last year. His last year was 21. So he'll be eligible
in 26,
26. He'll be
I think next
eligible.
year, yeah.
And he's got, I mean, let's see what he's got. He's got 12 years. He's
Buster's
got
a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He's got 12 years, 158 homers, 729 RBIs, and a career 302 hitter.
You
So,
know why he's going to get in?
and on top of that, all
Catcher
right, wait a
in
second.
the World Series.
Yeah, All-Star game. He was an MVP.
Rookie of the
However many
year.
All-Star games. Gold Glove. 3-time World Series champion. He's got the pedigree. But he might run into the same problem that I had, which is he played 12 years. Instead of, like you said, egging it out for a little while longer and having a few more extra stats.
Yeah, I don't think Buster will run into the same problem, and I think the reason being is that he's a catcher.
That's a
I
good
think the
reason.
fact
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. You're right there.
I think the
You're right
fact
there.
that you're a first baseman, it hurts you. Uh, it's more of an offensive position. So Buster's going to be compared with all the catchers. And so when you start looking at his numbers, and you look at the World Championships, you look at the Rookie of the Year, and you look at the MVP, I'd be shocked if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's going to be in that 75 to 85% range, kind of like CC Sabathia. But
Yeah, yeah,
I do think he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he should be.
yeah. Oh, I agree. I mean, he put 3 rings on my finger, so he's a Hall of Famer all day long in my freaking
Hey,
boat. You know, I could,
yeah,
I couldn't get it done, but at the same time, and this is what we talked about with these freaking morons that vote. It's like, criteria are you voting on? And you know, Austin even said it in the chat room. He's like, the committee's bullshit. And it is. It's bullshit because some of these guys have not been around baseball for however many years they've been retired. Once you retire as a writer, your credentials on voting on Hall of Fame ought to be done. But no, they don't. That's why they got 400 and something of these morons running around voting.
they need to revamp the system.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know the exact thing, but the players need to have a vote. Former the ones who lived through that era. I mean, I give the fans a vote. Like it's just there needs to be a better process in
There
all of this.
definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, needs to be a better process, and and that's why, and it's kind of what they said in the chat room. It ought to be having to deal with your peers. These people played the
Yes,
game. They know how hard the game is. They know how it is to play every day, and they understand. The people that write on a piece of paper, dude, they're sitting up in that press box and they have no idea why you missed this pitch or why you hit that pitch or why this pitcher threw this pitch in that count. They have none of those things. All right. And one of the guys who he was one of my teammates later in his career was Dave Anderson, the old shortstop from the Dodgers. And Dave said it, and it is the truth. The game is easier the further away from the field you get. And that's the truth.
that is the truth. Hey, Thrill, we lost a legend
Yes,
last
we
week.
did.
Bob Uecker passed away, a longtime broadcaster for the Cleveland. Excuse me. So many people made this mistake.
Yeah.
Longtime broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers, a legend of the game, a World Series champion, by the way, with the St. Louis Cardinals, the ultimate teammate, one of the funniest guys, one of the most entertaining dudes who's ever been a part of the game of baseball. Do you have any good Bob Uecker stories?
Oh man, you know he would come down on the field when we were in Milwaukee, and I got a chance to meet him a few times, sit in the dugout with him a few times, and just chat and just the just the humor. I mean, the dry humor, how it just came out of him like all the time. It was like unbelievable. And I told him, I said, Mr. Euchre, I said, if there's anything you need, you let me know. He goes, if I need something, I'll let you know, Will. He said, but he said, man, just keep doing it the way you're doing it. And such a class gentleman. He was, such a big part of, the Brewers nation. And then, you even alluded to it. You said Cleveland because of the movie Major League and him,
Of course.
Ricky Vaughn and all of that, just a bit outside, stuff like that. And, his passing, really, really for me, it was close because I got a chance to know him like I said, those times I was in Milwaukee, and he was a lot of fun to be around. And believe it or not, I found this, and I printed it out because I wanted everybody to see it. That
So
is
cool.
our co-host, the Eric
So cool.
Burns, with Mr. Bob Uecker. And I
So
thought that
cool.
was awesome right there.
Yeah, so thrilled. We were in that room together for an hour, and it was the green room. It was a scouts dinner. So every year they do this big thing where they have this foundation, and I think it helps out with scouts and whatever needs that they have. And I mean, we know how hard they work and how underpaid they are. So a lot of health benefits with them and their families, everything else.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I was I was in that room with Bob Uecker, Regis Fieldman, and Larry King for over an hour, just chumming it up. It was the coolest experience of my life. And then Regis and Larry left, and it was just Bob and I. And it's funny because he is one of the most dry, witty,
Yeah.
funny dudes I've ever met in my life. But at the
Yep.
same time, like he was just a bro, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
we talked like we're talking here. He wasn't trying to put on an act for me, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
it was just so cool, and like he was really interested in. I do remember it was like the year was probably 2015 ish. Whoever it was that won the World Series, and we were talking about the game, and we're just like, oh yeah, but this and that, because at the time I was an analyst for MLB Network, right? And so what I was doing, and so it was right after that. So yeah, it was just a really really cool, really really special experience getting to spend that time.
Yeah. No, that's I'm glad you had such good memories of him, because that's the same thing about me. Um, whenever you're around a gentleman like that, you really just respect how good they are at their craft. And he was a major
Yeah,
leaguer, so guess what? He had to have been a very good ball player, but because of his self-deprecation and all that, everybody's like, he wasn't that good of a ball player. He had to be a good ball player because he became a major leaguer.
he got to
You
the big
don't do
leagues.
that by accident.
No, no. All right, Thrill. Look, man, this place that I'm at right now, it's Trace Palapis is the name of it. Look at this. I
Oh
mean,
my God.
it is, it is unbelievable. As so basically everyone's gone. There's one court firing. So I told him I'd be done by 7:30. But I want to get your final opinion on this. The Dodgers this offseason.
Oh,
Not only did they just sign Roki Sasaki, right? They signed Tanner Scott, taking him basically from the Padres. They've signed Blake Snell. They've signed Sung Kim. They've signed Michael Conforto. They've re-signed Teoscar Hernandez. They re-signed Blake Trine, and they extended Tommy Edman. Is this turning into a baseball monopoly? Your thoughts on all the Dodgers moves who just keep getting better and better and
yeah,
better?
no, this is starting to be like freaking George Steinbrenner back in the day. Just I'm going to go out and buy the team that's going to be the best one to win. And hey, look, you just named a handful of names that are really really good ball players. And yeah, I mean they're going to be tough to beat, but you got to go out there and beat them.
All right, dude. Well, I hate to cut the show short, but I'm just stoked we were able to come on. I was able to find internet in the small town that I'm in. As
You
soon as I
got
saw the internet
internet,
here, I'm
and
like,
you're in the catwalk above the courts.
oh, this is where it is. Like literally, like this is. I was at my buddy's condo. I was at the hotel. Shitty, shitty, shitty internet. Would not have been able to do this, but here at the courts, I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. We have at least some sort of internet. So,
Yeah.
but we're back. We're back next week, and then I know we're going to take a couple week break before we get rolling with spring training and everything. But uh, back next week, correct?
Back next week, and hopefully all this snow that we got down here will be gone. I'll be able to get out and move around a little bit. So
Dude. Yes, snow sucks when you don't live in a snow town.
hey, and guess what? And guess what? Like some of my guys that are at the ranch. I mean, Big Mike and them. Living up in Reno and Tahoe, and you and Truckee. I mean, y'all get plenty of it. But like one of my guys is on the beach in Florida. he's in Destin, Florida, and he's getting snow. He's getting pounded right now. So all the stuff we got went to
Crazy.
him. So it's amazing. He's sending me pictures of snow covering up the beach. It's like amazing.
Oh, it's fucking wild. All right, bro. Well, have a good week. We'll talk to you next week, and then I'll go. I'll try to take home some hardware for you here this
Yeah, no,
weekend.
that'd be good. Good luck to you there, and hopefully next week we get on here and we can kind of mess around a little bit more. Hopefully have a little
Well,
bit
yeah,
more. Hopefully have a little bit more to talk about.
yeah. We'll have a full show fire next week. If nothing else, we're opening
Yeah,
ripping packs of 1987 tops.
yeah, and for everybody in the chat room, thank y'all for coming on. I know that it was kind of last minute, and EB was having a hustle and ran up the daily hustle thing and all that. But thank y'all for sticking with us, and we'll see y'all next week.
You're the man, Thrill. Appreciate you, dude.
Right back at you, brother.
Oh, adios.
Adios, muchacho.